Looks like we're on to geography now. God, I love how scatterbrained this class is. What do you reckon is the oldest country in the world? Let's do some light trivia. It's always a nice warm-up. What do you think the world's largest desert is? Here's a hint. Many would be surprised by the answer, since not a lot of people think about what the definition of a desert really is. The answer is the Antarctic desert. A lot of people forget that a desert is technically any place with less than 250 millimeters of precipitation. What were your guesses? Sahara or Gobi, right? That's most people's answers, and it shows a broader problem with standard forms of education. People struggle thinking outside the curriculum that's been standardized for them, and as such they form tunnel vision and a lack of creativity. What are the best ways to educate people? How can we prevent the lack of creativity that can be caused by these traditional means? Education should err more towards fostering curiosity and creativity. It's a shame that people tend to lose those two traits as they grow up, as they feel pressured into fitting into a box composed of academia. Curiosity is a slippery beast to catch, and even harder to retain, but there are always a few people that seem to hold on to it for their entire lives. Someone like Kazuki Takahashi, for instance. Retention of curiosity has got less to do with education, and more to do with childhood experiences. If someone is taught early on that being curious is a bad thing, such as through constant scolding or punishments, then it follows that they would be less likely to retain curiosity throughout their life. Back to some questions. Are you ready? This time on some geography. That one is a little bit obvious, but nice to get everybody warmed up. 386 people got it correct. Surprised there are any left for this one. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and is about double the size of the Atlantic Ocean. Am I evil for putting Sydney and Melbourne as options? In some parallel universe they probably are the capital of Australia instead of Canberra. Canberra is such a mid-capital. Could have at least chosen Sydney or Melbourne. I feel like a lot of people will go with whatever country's the most populous that is not their home country. Wow, a lot of people went for India there. India will very soon overtake China, but technically, as of the time of this question, China still has the highest population. I think land area is such an interesting metric. If you think about which country influences the world the most, then you may make a very different list. Filtered. Those three and most of the West is also at the forefront of most innovations, namely AI, which is interesting. Do you think another country could overtake influence in AI in the near future? I feel like most people do not appreciate just how big Africa is. Many world maps are often very skewed, and give a warped perspective of the scale of different continents. I find it really sad how much is unknown or overlooked about Africa. It's huge, diverse, and largely home to some of the most interesting history and cultures in the world. Yet you never really hear too much about it. Trickier than it appears on first glance. Most people completely forget about Ottawa. Guys, really? I try my hardest to make tricky questions, yet still almost all of you get them correct. 2/3 in and I'm starting to lose faith in human intelligence. Here's a slightly harder one. I'm surprised at the amount of people in earlier questions that think Sydney was the capital city of Australia. Name a single other city in Australia. I dare you. If anyone in chat can name 10 Australian cities, I will personally mail you my cat. What would your ideal smallest country be like? Personally, I think the ideal would be somewhere warm and sunny, maybe with a tech and philosophical influence. Would you join my country? What would you call my country if I created one? I've been thinking about names. Maybe something cute, with a hint of mystery. For some reason I find this fact really bizarre. Feels like you can't escape reptiles anywhere except Antarctica. Wait, do you think there's a chance that there are still undiscovered reptiles in Antarctica? Maybe they're just waiting, hibernating under the ice until the perfect moment to emerge. Wouldn't be the first time we've discovered some ancient beasts under the ocean. Let's go for a question that's bordering on difficulty. 351 people got that correct, and most probably just looked on Google. Would love to hear your justifications or reasoning for your answers, to at least partially convince me that you have originality of thought. Filtered. They still share a border with the US, but that's through some very remote and uninhabited volcanic islands. Pretty cool, huh? Did you know they share a border mostly due to the Diomede Islands? I think Diomede Islands are so cool, it's almost like they're metaphorically, and literally, bridging countries together. One of the most famous historical strips of land. Would you like to go back in history to see what it was like to cross it? I imagine it'd be an incredibly surreal experience. It'd be so fascinating to go back in time and trace the routes of our ancestors, don't you think? Would it give us a greater insight into humanity as a whole? Congrats to Jalner, Vedal 987 and Van or Sigma for the top 3. How are you guys so smart? Can we please do a brain transplant?